Bracket. Set the rules.
Good evening, guys, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good middle of the night to you, wherever you are. We're all gamers, and GoDz here with another installment of my GoDz versus World as I take on the current Dota 2 issues going on. And today we're going to be looking at the Dota 2 Star Championships, having a little recap of that, being currently held in Kiev in Ukraine. For those of you unaware, I did an SMM recap about a week ago, and this is pretty much after the positive response from that. Going to be doing a second one. This is the first official GoDz versus World, as the little title I've taken on, as I will be basically taking a very opinionated approach to the currently ongoing dramas. I mean, obviously with SMM there was a whole EG issue. Basically drama, results, which teams are doing well, which teams are a bit hopeless. Basically it's going to be upfront, my honest opinions, and not really afraid to stir the pot a little, make a few people upset. I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to tell it how it is, or tell it how I see it. And with that said, we're going to get into today's topic, which is the Dota 2 Star Championship. A bit of information about the tournament. We'll have a prize money breakdown in a second. Basically, it's a European tournament being held in Kiev, and there was about 12 invited teams from Europe, and then 4 teams that were going to get through on a qualifier. However, what happened is a lot of teams ended up being unable to go. Passport issues to get into Ukraine, schooling conflicts, just a lot of reasons that teams couldn't end up going. So as a result, the field was probably not as powerful as it could have been, which is a bit disappointing. You look at DreamHack and say DreamHack was a bit disappointing. No NaVi, no M5. There was a few other big teams missing. It was only really the 5 big names there. 4 of them who got the seeded ones, and then you had the Wild Honey Badge who came through the qualifiers. And then you go to this tournament and you've got big names missing. So we're going to get right into our coverage today, guys. For those of you who aren't aware, I mean, which is most of you, my 10 or 15 live viewers, this is round number 2. My first attempt, my VOD did not save, so we're doing it all over again, guys, which is an absolute thrill. It means it should be bigger and better than the last VOD, which you guys will never get to see. But we're going to get right into things, guys. First issue of the day, Europe, where are you? I got a little... basically, we're going to go over the teams that didn't actually show up, couldn't make it. The big names there: Fnatic, SK Gaming, and MTW. MTW, formerly known as Wild Honey Badgers, they've been picked up by their new big sponsor, and none of these teams could go. A couple of the teams was because of visa issues. One of them, I'm not quite sure. I imagine there was probably some conflicts with schooling, as said earlier. All of these big names being unable to go. Then on top of that, we've got TEG, the Elder Gods, which has some old school players such as Leon, Coco, as well as the Come With Me, who's now their new captain. One of the strongest teams at the moment in Dota 2, and they couldn't go either. So what resulted was a very, very skinny pool. Looking over on my right, you can see the team list, and basically it's summed up as NaVi, Garage Gaming, which is now Moscow 5. They've got a new lineup though. Team Shakira. And then you've got a few other teams like the Retry, which is PGG plus 4, who are a very strong team, I imagine. But not a whole lot. You've got Mousesports, of course, Mousesports. The former Hon pros now come over to Dota. How will they do here? That is what I want to know. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about one issue which did spark my eye, which I basically have to talk about. As soon as this happened, I'm just like, wow, this is something that I want to just have a go over quickly. So this is 4GL Gamers League. They picked up a new team led by Drayich, Papa Dre, as many know of him. That's him in the bottom right of the screen. Cute man, cute little kids. He's got a family at home, and he's been playing Dota. Played Dota 2 for ages, moved over to Hon, LOL, etc. Came back for Dota 2, formed this new team, and basically decided to not play at this tournament here in Kiev. And when talking about his reasons why, he's got, as you can see, he's got 2 little kids. He's got a wife. He's got a family. He's got lots of stuff going on. But what did he have to say about their reason for not competing? With Kiev fast approaching, we started mass practice, and it didn't take long until I realized that this will take more time, that we have no business attending Kiev right now, says Gamers League captain Kim Drayich Larsen. He is calling dodging what it is. He is saying upfront, we are not good enough, we cannot compete with these teams yet, we've been practicing hard, but we are still not good enough, and I recognize that, so we're just not going to play. Huge respect to you, Mr. Larsen, Drayich, Papa Dre. That is just something that what you don't see very often in the European Dota scene or many Dota scenes anywhere really. A player just saying we're not good enough, admitting the fact that they need to practice more. I mean, you've seen people using we haven't practiced as an excuse for losing, but he's using it as an excuse to not go to a tournament. He's basically being open about the fact they're not good enough to compete with these top European teams, even with the sort of limited pool that did attend there. I mean, they've been practicing lots, so I'm really hoping they do keep on practicing, get to a point where they can compete, and this level of professionalism shown by Papa Dre and just representing the community in such an honest way, being upfront about this, not making any excuses. It's just absolutely something to be admired, and huge respect to Papa Dre there, and really hope they do well in the future. And that brings us on to our next issue, guys. I'm going to have to try and remember where everything is, because the problem was I didn't actually save my notes, and when my computer crashed during the last recording, I lost everything. So I'm panicking, I'm flustered, I don't know where I'm going. We're going to take a little guess and go here. That brings us to my next issue. Yes, I'm right on. Maelk, are you taking notes? There's a few things to take away from this. I'm obviously directing this at Maelk, but this does apply to other players as well. Maelk is probably just the one who is most I don't know about known for this. It is something that a lot of people don't quite catch on to, but one of the people who I like to think of as fitting into a similar category. So basically, Maelk has not attended a lot of the big offline tournaments over the last few years. I mean, MYM went with Kuroki as a stand-in captain for Maelk. When they haven't been to any big offline events outside of Europe in a long, long time. Not to mention even with that in Europe, they've missed a few over the last year. And what has he said? Basically, he said, okay, he wanted to. Basically, someone accused him of dodging tournaments, saying, "Oh, they're too scared to do it." And what has Maelk said? I've been busy with school in 09 and 10. That's number 1. I decided to take off some time to travel. Number 2. I decided to devote the last few months of years to the ultimate cliche, real life. Number 3. And then my girlfriend. Then my new job. That's number 5. Maelk, I'm running out of fingers. I hope you don't have too many more excuses here, because you need to take a note from Papa Drayich's book, and that is call dodging what it is. If you're not going to go, if you don't think you're good enough, if you don't think you've trained enough, say, we're not good enough. Say, if we go, I don't think we'll get the results we want. But basically, you can't just throw around all these excuses. Everyone has real-life problems. Well, real-life stuff occupying time. I mean, not everyone has girlfriends, especially us gamers. Well, I don't know, speak for yourselves, guys, but I know I'm still lonely and single over here, but I have had time with girlfriends, and trust me, you can juggle these things. I mean, it's possible. Everyone, pretty much all gamers are still in school. I mean, whether it's university, not so many in high school go to offline events, but so many gamers, professional gamers, are still in university. NaVi players are in university. I mean, people have stuff like this. If you want to go, then you can go. Maelk even goes on to say, obviously I could go if I really, really wanted to. There's no denying that. Maelk, you've just spent the last 5, 6, 7 years of your life playing Dota, and Dota. Why would you not want to go to a huge offline LAN event with all the best teams in the world where you can compete and have a freaking awesome time? I just don't get that. That does not make sense to me. Sure, basically the only thing that makes sense is he's maybe afraid of failure, afraid of losing, afraid of disappointing his fans. His fans, all the European fans who think Maelk is just the best of the best, going over to SMM, losing to the Chinese. The Chinese dominated in 2009, 2010. Basically, he won't admit it. He won't say, we can't beat these teams. No matter how much we train in the upcoming months, we're not going to be able to get good enough, quick enough to beat these teams. And that, to me, is what this situation is. He says he could go if he wanted to. He loves Dota. Why not go? It doesn't make sense to throw around these excuses when obviously he's moved on to even say he can go. So we're going to move on quickly, because that's just my hot topic of the night, which I wanted to just bring up. And I do please excuse me for my terrible Microsoft Paint job over on the right with my little dodgeball image. It was a little impromptu decision to put that on there. So basically, Maelk, take a note from Papa Dre. If you're not going to go to a tournament, then just say, well, I'm not going to go. I don't think we'll do well enough. It's not going to be worth it. And don't throw around all these excuses such as real life, girlfriends, jobs, vacation, yada yada yada. And Maelk, we do have to finish this off with a bit of trolling. One last thing. If you've one last comment for you, Maelk, and that is problem. Problem? What's up, man? Just call dodging what it is. Okay. So trolling aside, we're going to move on, guys, before we do get too sidetracked here, because we got the Dota 2 Star Championship to talk about, and now that we've established who is going, who is not, and who is just a big bunch of dodgers, let's go and get right into this event. Am I going to the right place? No, I'm not. I've already messed it up. Here we go. Here we're in the right place. This is the group stage, guys. So with the limited pools here, there was obviously some weak groups, some strong groups. They did divide up the groups so that they were fairly balanced. Looking at Group A, we've got NaVi, the retry, which is PGG +4. Both those two teams dominating this group. NaVi basically defeating PGG's team here, and NaVi finishing top of their group with a 3-0 win. No huge surprises here. Basically went as anyone could have predicted it to go. Group B, we saw Isahara and Team Shakira go through. The only real surprise maybe is Team Shakira losing to Isahara, but Isahara is former D2SC, no longer with Artstyle, but they've also gone under the name Hardstyle. They are a fairly strong Ukrainian team, and they did do very well at this event, so no huge surprise there. Then we go on to Group C. This is where TEG were meant to be, where they would have probably 3-0'd this group, but they didn't end up going to the tournament. There wasn't a replacement for them, so as a result, we had a wide open group with three basically unknown teams. We've got Lick the Click, what a great name, what a great name. Power Rangers, who've actually they're a team from Belarus who actually did do alright in the Dota 1 scene, and we've got SDF, a completely unknown Ukrainian team. Something to take note of, because of all these teams that pulled out, they filled in the spots with local teams, so all these Ukrainian teams did get through. They weren't initially invited, but they got invited because of the open spots, the short amount of time needed, and the fact that teams from outside of Ukraine could not get visas in time to attend. So what resulted was a lot of Ukrainian teams and some one-sided matches, at least in this first group stage. But this Group C, we see Lick the Click, they were initially known as Team Hungary. Do you guys know any Hungarian Dota players by any chance? I mean, I've got a few that live with me, a few around the corner, but apart from that, I don't know many Hungarian Dota. I don't know a single Hungarian Dota player, guys. So I did a little clicking on GoDz Gamers, found their roster, and that's in the bottom right there. Roster. Balaz, SG, YZM, Warlock, and Lied. Alright, those guys. Yeah, those guys from Hungary and a couple of Ukrainian guys. I know all about that. No, wait, who are they? Yeah, I was just scratching my head. I did not have a clue who these guys were. They won their group 3-0, but I was not expecting great things from them. As I said, this group was wide open. Anyone could have taken it with TEG out of the picture. Not really fancying their guys' chances later on in this group stage. So we go into Group D, which is the most interesting group because it has the former Hon pros, Mouse Sports, who do have a huge amount of offline experience in Hon, up against Moscow 5, the Giants from Russia, but playing with a not-so-gigantic lineup. They've got a few new players, Cliff, as well as KYKY, and they've also got a heap of pressure on their backs. Basically, their sponsor, Moscow 5, has come out and said, we'll agree to sponsor you again for this event, but if you guys don't finish top 3, we're not going to give you financial support for upcoming LAN events. Talk about putting on the heat on your team. Basically saying you have to perform or we're not going to sponsor you at this specific event. And I think it's partly because Moscow 5, they want to sponsor the best teams. They don't want to sponsor some... They know that... I mean, they've seen the recent roster changes. They know that this Moscow 5 roster is not the same one it used to be. They don't... For all they know... I mean, the sponsors maybe don't have a huge involvement in the Dota team. They maybe don't know just how strong this team will be. And for all they know, it could not even make it through the group stage. So I think they were reluctant to sponsor them, are only agreeing to continue the sponsorship if they do place highly. So there's a huge amount of pressure on Moscow 5, and we did see the first big clash of the tournament. I mean, you've got Group A, you see NaVi versus TR versus PGA's team, which was, to me, was an expected result with NaVi winning. But this one, Mouse Sports versus M5, Hon Pros versus the Dota Giants. You basically had all of the... Hon players cheering on their team as well as some Dota players. I was cheering on Mouse Sports here. They've gotten a lot of flaming for being Hon trash, coming over to Dota and basically getting sponsored right away because they were top Hon players. And a lot of people saying, oh, they don't have any place in Dota, but they proved everyone wrong here. They beat Moscow 5. Sure, it's the new Moscow 5, but they are playing some awesome Dota at the moment and really thinking they are going to be one of the contenders for this title. So that was Group Stage number 1. The top 2 teams from each group advanced. God, I keep trying to look over to my notes and they're not there. I'm just like, where are my notes? But that's okay, guys. We're gonna play this by ear. I think we are going to be going to the group stage number 2, which is right there. We got 2 of the first place finishing teams, 2 of the second place finishing teams, and looking at Group E, you've got Mouse Sports who won their who won their group. Lick the Click. we're just going to move on from that. Who won their group, but they went 0-3 in this group. So the retry PGD's team and Team Shakira, who finished second in their group. This group was interesting. Very, very even. Mousesports, TR, and Team Shakira all finishing with 2 wins, 1 loss. Basically what happened is Team Shakira beat Mousesports. Mousesports beat the retry, and the retry beat Team Shakira, resulting in a rock, paper, scissors situation between the 3 teams. But luckily, 3 teams advanced, so there wasn't going to be any tiebreakers, at least to decide who progresses. But Mousesports finished top of the group based on something. There's some rule, time rating, kill rating. I'm not sure exactly how it worked. I haven't seen the rules or read how that was sorted out. But Mousesports won the group, Team Shakira finishing in 3rd, and the retry in 2nd. So we go to the more somewhat highly anticipated match in Group F. Moscow 5 versus NaVi. Who cares about the rest of the 2 teams? For me, this is just NaVi, Moscow 5, top 2 spots. The rest of it, who cares? Who cares who gets third? This was an epic match. 55 minutes in. The game was even. It was NaVi were up maybe about 10 kills, but in terms of towers, I think they were behind by a couple towers, and then suddenly, splat. The game crashed, the game disconnected, and the save file was lost. I say that because there is going to be an update that most people are aware of. It was lost. This was one of the first matches of the group stage, so they went on and played the rest of their group stage matches, and the NaVi vs Moscow 5 match was declared a draw in a best-of-1 series. It was a draw. I was like, wow, they played 55 minutes for a draw? Then, towards the end of the day, Valve rings up. Hey guys, we found the save. Cool. You've got the save. We can be playing. Yep, you can play. Sweet. So they found the save. They played it on from 55 minutes. Moscow 5 victorious, and that was an epic game there. As far as that game's concerned, a bit of talk about that game. Puppy said he tried something a bit different. He let Moscow 5 pick the Prophet first, tried to counter it with a Broodmother pick, but what he didn't anticipate was the Sand King being picked up by Moscow 5. Moscow 5 used a solo Sand King up against the solo Brood, I imagine played by Light of Heaven, as it is his trademark hero, and basically the Sand King dominated the Brood from what I saw. So Puppy said, yeah, it's not something we're going to try again. We don't want to give away Prophet, and Prophet was the big pick. But for me, I was watching this game and thinking, why are they talking about the Brood, the Sand King, and the Prophet when NaVi have a Stealth Assassin? There's no talk about this Stealth Assassin by Puppy. Those of you who don't know, Havost played Stealth Assassin, and he got Mask of Madness. This, to me, was a big, what are you doing, NaVi? What are you thinking? What is going through your minds here? Is this a serious strategy? Is this something else? And with that, we're going to move on to our next segment, which is all about NaVi. NaVi, are they still the kings of Dota 2? What have they got to prove here, and who can actually beat them? Apart from Moscow 5, who just proved it there, but does that match actually mean anything? So, I'm going to start off with a little fun. I found this funny. White Fang from Malaysia had a little comment in the comments of the Ghosty Bet saying, I think Ricky wants to make Mask of Madness plus Basher. Really popular build in Malaysian pubs. You, sir, you, White Fang, are correct. It's a very popular build in Malaysian pubs. It does not translate well to 5v5 clan wars at big offline events, though, unfortunately. The SA with Mask of Madness strategy was not a winner. I mean, firstly, the SA pick, debatable. I mean, I believe there aren't better heroes in most situations, but going Mask of Madness, where you can't get a Diffusal then. You need a Diffusal on SA. This was just absolutely something I'm thinking, wow, what the hell? One of the pro players said, I bet he's regretting getting that Mask of Madness. Looking at this discussion here, between a couple of pro players as well, in a Skype conversation, basically, the first player says, I think NaVi are so confident they can beat anyone later on in the tournament that they don't mind doing shit like this, shit like a Mask of Madness Stealth Assassin, even against a good team, because they want to try it out. The same player goes on to say, I think they use these kind of strats because they think it might work, but they figure they will try it in a serious game to truly test out how good it is, because testing it in a scrim can be unreliable. So picking an SA in a scrim, I mean, you're never going to know just how good it is, because the other team may be trying something, it's a scrim, it doesn't mean as much, so they want to try it in a serious match. Pro player number 2, whose name has been blocked out, says no, they wouldn't do something if they didn't think it's good. They don't fuck around. And then a match was brought up from Farm for Fame where they picked CM and then random 4 heroes in a Dota 1 online tournament. Yada yada. Basically, it's saying, were NaVi playing serious? Was that a serious strategy from them? I mean, they're obviously playing to win. They're not going to throw any game, but getting Mask of Madness on SA definitely is saying, well, you have to wonder, would they actually do that in the last... If this was the Grand Finals, Game 3, would they do that? I don't think so, which is why, for me, NaVi, they're still on top. They are still the kings of Dota 2. They have won the International, winning $1 million. They have won ESWC. They've won every Dota 2 tournament they've played in. There's been a few online ones that they didn't compete in, such as the Ben Q Clash tournament. They're playing in the defense at the moment, where I don't think they've actually played any games, because it's just been drawn out. I mean, it's going to be about 2013 before we see the defense finished. So for those of you guys thinking, yeah, the defense, Dota 2 online tournament, good prize pool. Well, it's drawn out and out and out, and I'm probably going to have kids by the time it actually does finish, and any team sees any sort of prize money, unfortunately. It is just going to be a very long, drawn-out event. But yeah, so basically it was brought up. It was a bit of a pub build, but they did it right, and in the end, it was a very, very close game, but I think he's going to regret buying that if they care about that loss. But they're going to move on. For them, they still make it through. They make it through their group. They go on to the playoff stage, and it's no big deal. They just have to prove themselves in the playoffs. And the thing about NaVi is they win when they have to. You look at them at ESWC, where they did do 2 on their group stage. They lost to Fnatic. They almost lost to Orange. They almost didn't make it out of their group, but they won when it mattered. And when it came to the finals, they absolutely dominated eHome. Part of me is expecting something similar here. They've scraped through. I mean, they didn't really even scrape through. They just had the 1 loss against M5 so far. And I think come finals time, they buckle down, and really, they just have such great team experience in these big matches that they will... I'm thinking they will be able to do it. Anyways, we're going to move on to the next part, which is... Let's see if I can go to the right place. Let's see if I can go to the right place. Let's see if I can go to the right place. Still talking predictions. So... with that group stage number 2 concluded, we have the playoffs. So initially there's the relegation, which is basically the quarterfinals. So the quarterfinals between the 2nd and 3rd place teams. There is no 4th place team. So we have NaVi versus Team Shakira, the Retry versus eSahara, and the 2 first place teams going immediately into the semifinals, which is Moscow 5 and Maelk. So they don't have to play a quarterfinal match. And what we had here was NaVi versus Team Shakira. For me, was the really, really interesting matchup. NaVi obviously having to win this, or they're out of the competition without a top 4 finishing. So they had to win this. Game 1, they go with a very interesting stat. We see Team Shakira banning Pudge as well as Prophet. So 2 heroes that NaVi love to use. They go with the trademark Puppy Chen, and Denti ends up on a Storm solo mid. What ensues is a very back and forth game. Team Shakira have a overfarmed Broodmother, and play it pretty well. We also have Denti getting an interesting play as well from Denti. I want to talk a bit about what he did. He went Oblivion Staff into Boots of Travel into Silencing. So he just got 1 Oblivion Staff early for the mana. But Boots of Travel on Storm Spirit as one of his first items, and this was because they had a Chen. So he used this so that he could fly in, use all his mana, take some nukes, and Chen sends him back to base. He heals up. He then Boots of Travels right back into the team fight. So a very interesting strategy. It paid off in the late game as well as somewhat in the mid game, but he made a few really bad decisions this game. He suicided for like a CM kill on at least 2 or 3 occasions where the Beastmaster roared him immediately. They killed Storm, even though Storm got the kill on either the CM or the support AA. It happened at least twice, I want to say 3 times, where he just got picked off going for a solo kill, and he got a bit overzealous at times and just was not his best game. But come mid to late game, he was just unstoppable, getting kill after kill, flying around, causing so much havoc. And it was really something... It was exciting to watch, guys. It was a great game. That has been my game of the term. So, guys, go watch NaVi versus Team Shakira. If you haven't seen that match, go check out joindota.com/VODs. I believe you'll find it on there. That was an awesome game. Game 2 was a bit more sort of the NaVi stomp. They had a CM tied AA tri-lane where Ty got up a fast blink, some arcane boots around there, and they just dominated the map. They're getting kills. They had Dendi playing solo mid Tinker. He didn't do all that well early on. He died once to a Shadow Shaman who tried to push down a few towers early on, but NaVi got too far ahead on kills, got a huge advantage, won the game fairly easily. So they then have a semi-final meeting with Maelk. And this is what everyone's been waiting for. The Hon players following... Well, the Hon players not even following this tournament. The Dota players, the Dota 2 players. This is it. This is the showdown. The best of Dota 2 versus the best of Hon. And this is going to be the absolute biggest clash of the tournament so far, and I can't wait. It's going to be I mean, Mouse Sports have already proven they are not Hon trash, but this is where they have to. This is where it's going to come down to them to prove whether or not they can be one of the best Dota 2 teams, or whether or not they'll just be near the best. And my prediction is Navi scrape through. I don't think it's going to be an easy match for Navi. I'm thinking Mouse Sports either take one game off them and Navi win it 2-1, or Navi win it 2-0, but it's two very close games. Navi maybe having to make a comeback in at least one of the games. I think Mouse Sports play very aggressive, pushing, ganking Dota, and I think they are going to get up to some early lead. So it's going to be up to Navi to make some sort of comeback in at least one of the games, and maybe even see Navi dropping a game here. But I think they'll scrape through to get to the finals, the grand finals, in basically typical Navi fashion. They just always find a way to win. Then we have the top half of the bracket, which is interesting. We have the retry, PGG +4. They beat Isahara. Fairly convincing there. Isahara just not having quite the experience or the team coordination that PGG had, and that had a Russian show match in the semi-final. That was the last match, finishing just a couple hours ago. PGG versus Moscow 5. This is the Moscow 5 with a huge amount of pressure on them, have to finish top 3, and they really showed that they want that top 3 finish. First game, they were up about 10 kills to nothing in the first 5 minutes of the game. They were just dominating PGG's team, and what we did end up seeing is a sort of 30-minute victory. They did take it slow, play it safe, make sure they got the win, and they won game 1. Then PGG said, that's enough, we're going to buckle down, and they took the next 2 games of the series. I haven't actually watched those games because that was at 6 or 7 in the morning my time, and that was about the 4 hours of sleep I got was during those 2 games. Sorry, during those 2 or 3 Moscow 5 versus PGG's the retry. So I haven't seen any of those games, but basically it was won 2-1 by PGG's team. After losing the first game, they won the next 2, and Moscow 5 go down to the 3rd place match. The best they can do is 3rd place. So they're going to have to really make sure they beat whoever loses out of Mouse Sports and Navi. It's not going to be easy for Moscow 5, and you have to worry about whether they will get that top 3 finish that they have to get, or whether or not that a 4th place finish will be enough for them to keep their sponsor. But that sets up the retry, PGG +4 in the grand final. This is, ignore this where it says Moscow 5 over on the grand final. It's not Moscow 5. Moscow 5 lost, so they're going to be up against Navi or Mouse Sports, which is PGG, in the final. So my prediction here, Navi beat Mouse Sports either 2-1 or 2-0 in very close matches. I'm expecting definitely a comeback in at least one of the games from Navi. And then we have a Navi versus the retry PGG's team in the grand final. And unfortunately, I'm expecting a very one-sided series there. Navi beating the retry in the group stage, and just Navi being such a more experienced team, whereas the retry PGG's team is more sort of just a mix put together every now and then to compete in tournaments. Although they've got great skill, they just don't have the actual team coordination and experience of Navi, and expecting Navi to just be all business in that grand final and defeat the retry. But I'm hoping for a bit of a surprise, hoping for a close match, but I just can't see it happening. I'm expecting Navi to just do their thing and win that series fairly convincingly. And if they do make it to the grand finals, what they have to do is beat the Hon Pros first, and going to be interesting to see whether or not that can happen. So guys, that pretty much concludes the Dota 2 Star Championship coverage. Or this sort of small coverage VOD that I've been doing, and that is episode number 2 of GoDz vs World, featuring Dota 2 Star Championship coverage of the tournament in Kiev. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm GoDz from GoDz Gamers. You can follow me down there on Facebook and Twitter at GGNetGoDz, facebook.com/GGNetGoDz, or I'm also on YouTube if you want to see my other video from the SMM Recap, episode number 1 of GoDz vs World. That was on my YouTube, which is youtube.com/GoDzStudios with an S at the end, Z at the end of GoDz, GoDz Studios. Thanks everyone for tuning in and checking out this VOD, and we will be back sometime in the next week or so with episode number 3, where I wage war on more top European players because I'm not here to make friends. And thanks everyone for tuning in. That is going to be it. And finally, we're going to have one last word from our sponsors, Rockout Gaming, who make everything possible here at GoDz Gamers. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and good morning, I suppose. Well, it is good morning. Good morning, good night, and good afternoon.
Rocket. Set the rules.